Hey, Purpose Chasers, big news. Doors are officially open for the brand new Pillar Mastery. If you've ever felt stuck or like your personal goals are always on the back burner, this is your moment. Pillar Mastery is a transformational program that uses my proven 6 Pillars of Wealth framework to help you align your vision, create momentum, and finally start seeing results. Now, who is this for? Ambitious individuals who want to balance success with well-being. And guess what? If you join before January 26th, you'll unlock exclusive live bonuses, including deep dive workshops and Q&A sessions with me. Don't miss your chance to elevate your life in 2025. Head to pillarmastery.com for all the details. That's pillarmastery.com. Let's master your pillars together.
When you're in positive spaces, you can't help but feel that and allow it to permeate your spirit so that you are able to emanate that same positivity that really is fertile ground for your dreams to grow, for your ideas to grow, and for you to grow.
I'm Patrice Washington, and this is the Redefining Wealth podcast, where authenticity leads to alignment and abundance. Join us each week as we peel back the layers on what wealth truly means and dive into conversations that inspire, connect, and empower you to live your richest life. Get ready to challenge the status quo. It's time to redefine wealth for yourself. You're listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast with Patrice Washington. This is the space that you come to each and every week to learn more about what it means to chase purpose, not money. And of course, if you're an OG purpose chaser, if you've been around for a while, you already know that in this community, we understand that wealth is so much deeper than just money and material possessions. What you know is that the original 12th century definition of wealth says it's about the condition of well-being and happiness. And around here, we live by the 6 pillars of wealth. That means that there are these other parts of your life that are impacting not just how you show up for your finances or your career, but how you show up for that God-given vision that is on your heart in this season. There are parts of your life that might be sabotaging your own success and your own efforts, and you don't even realize it because we just normalize it. And all week, I have been talking to graduates of Pillar Mastery, which is one of our flagship courses here at Redefining Wealth. The doors are now open, and I wanted you to hear the stories of transformation and evolution of real women. Not that it's only for women, let me say that, but 99% of my clients are women. So that just is what it is. So you've been hearing stories of real women who have participated in Pillar Mastery. They understand what it now means to live their life by the pillars. They have that awareness and they are seeing shifts in their lives. And it's been a blessing to me to share those stories. We are ending this week, certainly last but not least, we are ending this week with the phenomenal Dr. Stephanie Barnes. By day, she is a healthcare innovation attorney, but Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes is always the liberated lawyer who is committed to helping high-achieving women experience a joyful, fulfilled, and meaningful life. She believes that life is just too long to be unfulfilled. And when I tell you this woman is a powerhouse, you are in for a treat. We're going to talk about her journey in Pillar Mastery, but I want you to hear about all of the phenomenal things she does. That ability to live her life in the and, not the either or, but the and has been a true inspiration to me since even having her in the community. And I have to also say, she didn't put it in her bio, but she's the only other person who's listened to every Redefining Wealth podcast episode ever, other than me and whoever's edited the podcast. So without further ado, welcome to the Redefining Wealth podcast, the liberated lawyer, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes. Welcome, Dr. Stephanie.
Oh, thank you so much, Patrice. It is truly an honor and pleasure to be here today.
Dr. Stephanie, they may think I'm joking about you listening to all of the Redefining Wealth podcast episodes, but let's just start there. You met me back in my America's Money Maven, Steve Harvey Money Maven days several years ago.
Yes.
And then you found yourself back in this space, back in this community. Tell us about what was happening when you re-entered the realm of Redefining Wealth.
Yes. So as you mentioned, I met you back in 2017, and I always joke to myself, that was when, it was my bad hair days. I think I had a wig over my weave. So my hair has improved. My life has improved. My outlook has improved. But I always think about that when I look at the picture of us. I'm like, ooh, that was some bad weave. But anyway, lest I digress. So I have been really looking over the past 2 years, especially to truly live my life in the end. And I am a bodybuilder, and I go to the gym, of course, 6 days a week. And I got kind of tired of listening to music. And I decided, well, this is a great time to use to improve myself and just to pour goodness into my mind and body and spirit. So I stopped listening to music in the gym and started listening to podcasts. And I also was working on getting my little change together. I don't want to call it a little change. My big bucks together,
Big bucks.
Big bucks. We don't want to diminish. We don't want to put anything out there in the air that is diminishing what I want to do. But anyway, had been looking to improve my finances. And so I'm like, I remember years ago when your podcast came out, I think 2018, right? Yeah, 2018. And I also at that time I was anything but financially secure. I was dead broke, honestly, and just in a not good financial space at all. But I knew that would not always be. And so I started listening to you then. And, life lifed, and I stopped. And I was like, you know what? I need to go back and listen to my girl, Patrice, because I remembered, your words about giving God something to bless. He blesses what he sees you working on. So I was like, I'm working on my money. You need to see that. And it was really great to empower myself in that way. So I started listening to your podcasts, and over the course, I'm going to say, let's see, I guess about, 6 months or so. Yeah, I listened to all of them. I started listening, I guess that was 23. So I listened to all of 23. I listened to you backwards. I don't know why I did it that way, but I listened to you backwards. So I was in 23 and went through all the years, and it was just really great. And I miss it. It's like, I listen to you now on Thursdays when your new episodes come out, but I'm like, I don't have Patrice Washington in my ear all the time, but you are.
Oh my gosh. And, at Redefining Wealth Live 2024, Dr. Stephanie was able to share some of her story on the stage and what her transformation has been like and all the things. But one of the things that I mean, literally when you sent me the message, it brought tears to my eyes, is how because you listened to the episodes backwards, you could see my evolution and my transformation. Yes. What about that evolution and transformation, since you are the only other person who's listened to all the episodes, I think?
Yeah.
What about that even inspired you to come in closer?
Well, because when I started listening to you, I really was listening just for the purpose of hearing and learning. And I didn't really at that point have an intention to do anything more than listen to the podcast. But the immersion in the pillars and the immersion in each of the episodes, I mean, it was just uncanny how literally on certain days when I would listen to episodes, that episode would be something I needed to hear. And I found that it was really inspiring a lot of creativity, because as I would listen, I would get thoughts and I'm like, oh, I think about this. And even in the gym, sometimes I would stop and put notes in my phone, the memo function. And it was just such a great inspiration, and not just inspiration, just like, oh, I'm happy. This is great. And listening to, but it really sparked action. And when you began advertising or, talking about pillar mastery, I was like, I'm not going anything right now. But the more I listen, I'm like, you know what? That would be really good for me right now because I'm on this journey and I felt at that time, and it was true that I needed to just reconnect to those pillars and just really think of my life from that perspective and organizing it in that way. And so that was how I ended up deciding on joining Pillar Mastery.
I remember one of the first Pillar Mastery calls too. At the time, I would do the live sessions. It's no longer that way, but when I got on, I remember seeing your name and seeing your face and thinking, God, I know her from somewhere. I have no idea how or where, but I just feel like I know her.
Yeah.
And so it's always such a blessing to see that no matter how far away like people may go, you have people in your life for seasons and reasons and all those things. But I felt very, once you told me, no, I met you several years ago, I felt really blessed that you would come back, but also come back closer. And going through Pillar Mastery, this kind of thing where you're like, I don't know if I need all that. I don't know. But then you end up doing it. And you're still very much in community now in Mastery Momentum as well. What about Pillar Mastery shifted something for you?
Well, I think that guided introspection, I'll say, because of course, with each of the pillars and the way Pillar Mastery was designed at the time, of course, we would go through a pillar, we would do the assessment, we would listen to the trainings, and then we would really identify where we were and where we desired to go and what it would take to get there. And that was just a very beneficial tool and resource for me. And also just being able to be honest with myself about where I was, where I wasn't, and to have some structure around making decisions to get me where I desire to be.
Mm. It is a great tool for that, like allowing you to make decisions. Do you feel like you're making decisions, not just with the awareness of the pillars and maybe how different parts of your life are impacted by your decisions, but do you feel like you're making decisions with more confidence or clarity?
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned confidence and clarity because actually those were two areas where when I started Pillar Mastery, I was really suffering in. And I think in my I think in my application for Pillar Mastery, I mentioned that, I had lost confidence. I had lost confidence in myself because for so long in my life, I had accomplished. I have done the things, I went to Harvard. I graduated from Harvard. I've had this successful career as an attorney. I have my PhD. So I have the things, the outward emblems of success. But because life did not go as I planned it, I initially kind of had taken that as, well, maybe you're not as good as you think you are. So my confidence was just really, really non-existent. I wouldn't say non-existent, but it definitely was shaky. And then clarity. I knew I wanted more and I knew that I deserved more. And I was still committed to my purpose. I just didn't know how. Being in Pillar Mastery helped to reshape and reinvigorate my confidence. And it helped me to gain greater clarity around why am I here? What is this really all about? Where do I desire to go? And why is this so important? So confidence and clarity were two very valuable gains from going through Pillar Mastery and just being connected to the community.
Yeah, Dr. Stephanie, it is so powerful to hear a beautiful, intelligent Harvard Law School graduate, PhD, all the things. Hear a woman, a bodybuilder, because Dr. Stephanie is fine, y'all. If you just look her up, okay? Wait, fine and fly. Always so cute, so fly. So she's such a fashionista on top of all of this. But it's also so powerful to know that this is the reality of what happens when life shakes you up. Like for many of us who are very successful, accomplished women, people don't tell us about the parts of life that don't go the way that we thought it would. We think, oh, I did everything on the checklist and I'm about to coast through this life and have a sunshiny retirement when that time comes and I'm going to go on. And we don't really often hear such amazing, accomplished, beautiful, poised women say, and even I had a dip in confidence. And I think that being in spaces like a pillar mastery, like a mastery momentum, where you can let the mask down, like we don't have to sit here and pretend that everything is always peaches and roses. You can have a safe space to say, yeah, life is lifing. And I need some tools and some sisterhood and some community and some something. Cause I don't know about you, but for many years I was a lone ranger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know that people were also suffering. It was just me suffering in silence.
Right. And that's one thing that I've learned over the years is how powerful it is when we tell our stories and we tell our stories, when we shape the narrative. Because one of the things that I find is, like you say, there are many women who think, oh, this is just me. This is just my issue. And they will penalize themselves in many respects and think, well, this is a personal weakness, or this is something you've not done, or it's you're bad, you're not this, or whatever. But when you share your story, or you are either around other women who do, you get to recognize that, you know what? It's not just me. And the lack of confidence I'm feeling, or the lack of clarity that I have right now, is not some indication that something's wrong with me. It's just an opportunity to amplify it and to get that clarity and to be in an environment where I am nurtured both from a fundamentals perspective. You learn things that you can apply, but also from I'm going to say spirit, but I don't mean spiritual, but just the atmosphere of when you're in positive spaces, you can't help but feel that and allow it to permeate your spirit so that you are able to emanate that same positivity, and not from a rose colored glasses, not from a Pollyanna perspective, but a nurturing perspective that really is fertile ground for your dreams to grow, for your ideas to grow, and for you to grow.
Yeah. So speaking of ideas growing and dreams growing, since Pillar Mastery, what types of things have you put into place that support your dreams?
The major thing, the first thing I did was reinvigorating my podcast. I had a podcast that I started in, I guess, 2020. It changed names, but the focus was very simple. I started a podcast in 2020, changed the branding in 2021. And then kind of at the end of 2021, I ran out of steam. I ran out of money steam. I ran out of idea steam, and was in this place of like, I don't know if this is worth it. But I was always committed to bringing it back. And it was always a matter of time. And just kind of after really being recommitted to my vision of helping other women, high achieving women, to live a life that's fulfilled, fit, and free, or joyful, meaningful, and fulfilled, I said, you know what? My voice has a place in this world. And I believe that my voice can contribute to an environment that encourages other women. And also, when I tell my story, I am able to shape the narrative for my life. And I can shape it in a way that recognizes the vulnerability or embraces the vulnerability and still is able to tell that story. So that was the big thing, was I brought living life in the and podcast back, a podcast for the successful and fulfilled woman. So that was the first step in really reinvigorating my commitment to helping women live their lives in the end.
Yeah, I love that too. Let's go deeper, because when you say successful and fulfilled, you and I both know, we've talked about this, about, again, that idea of you can be successful and you can check off all the boxes and think that you have all the things that as little girls we were kind of taught, or it was the images were put in front of us that, okay, you grow up, you get married, you have kids, maybe work, maybe don't, but you do these things. But not necessarily was I taught that I had the right to also be fulfilled in that. I definitely thought that that was something that you did to be of service to others only, but not necessarily was it about me. And even in our community, I see it every day where people are attracted to redefining wealth and they come in and it's like, yes, I'm successful and I'm a doctor and I'm a lawyer. And we have some really incredible people in redefining wealth. Like there's some really, I mean, I don't know that I've been around so many doctors, medical doctors, attorneys, PhDs, all of this stuff. But the common thread is I've been successful and I've been applauded for so much, for all of this achievement. And I don't necessarily feel good. I don't necessarily feel fulfilled. Why was that the angle that you felt called to?
Well, largely because, as an attorney, what I see among my peers, what I've seen throughout my career, what I've experienced myself, oftentimes, attorneys are very successful. Successful from the point of having a great practice, making a lot of money. Sometimes we're partners in firms. Sometimes we have our own firms. But very successful from a material and accomplishment perspective. But lawyers in particular have one of the highest suicide and substance abuse rates among any professional. So on the outside, we look good. That suit is sharp. That briefcase is tight. Everything is good. But on the inside, we're broken. And so tapping into that in particular with women who are in the same profession that I'm in, I knew that there was room for helping women to break that statistic and not be successful and miserable or unfulfilled. And also it was something I wanted to experience for myself. That's one of the reasons that I say I'm the liberated lawyer is law. I am an attorney by trade. That's what I have my degree in. That's what I do for a living, but I am more than that title. And being an attorney doesn't define who I am. And definitely given the association between attorneys and suicide rates and misery, I'm like, I want to liberate myself. And I'm like, not only do I want to liberate myself, but I want to liberate other women. So that was the impetus for really getting back into being vocal about this concept of being successful and fulfilled. Living life in the and means you use the power of your choices to create the life you desire and deserve. And we don't have to settle for being successful and miserable. We all need to be fulfilled.
Yeah. You know that feeling when you're chasing big dreams, but deep down, it feels like something's off. Like ambition is pulling you one way, but your vision for the life you really want is somewhere else entirely. That's exactly why I created Pillar Mastery, to help you make ambition align with what truly matters. This is your chance to join a self-paced, on-demand program where you will gain lifetime access to the proven 6 Pillars of Wealth framework. It will help you balance success and well-being while moving towards your biggest goals. And here's the game changer. If you say yes now, you will unlock exclusive live bonuses available only through January 26th. It includes deep dive workshops, live Q&As with me to fine-tune your roadmap for 2025, and our brand new Pillar Progress Assessment. This is a powerful tool that takes just 15 minutes to complete. It'll give you your exact score for each pillar, show you what you need to do next, and highlight the 5 building blocks that need your attention the most. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start creating aligned momentum, head to Pillar Mastery now. Don't wait. Your next level is waiting. That's pillarmastery.com. Let's master your pillars together. I'm curious. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, how you ended up becoming a bodybuilder, a senior model,
Yes.
like all of this stuff, that is some and.
Yes.
That is truly and.
Yes. And this is something that I have really fully embraced, I would say, in the last 5 years or so. But, many times when you achieve a certain profession, people will box you in and think, well, attorneys can't do this. You look like this, because I get it all the time. You don't look like a Harvard lawyer. Like, what in the Sam Hill is that? And, we got to stay clean for the FCC. But anyway, I'm like, what you mean? And often it's from someone who's never even set foot on Harvard. I'm like, you don't even know what a Harvard lawyer looks like. But anyway, I digress. But, you can get into this image and think that, well, attorneys can't do this, or attorneys have to look this way, or you can't do this, you can't do that. You get into all these boxes of how you should live your life. And, I have been very committed to breaking out the boxes. And in particular, I would say, I went blonde in 2013. This all has a point. It's not just about hair. I went blonde in 2013, and I've not had my natural hair color for many years now. I've had different color blondes, wigs, weaves, whatever. We're not going to digress into that bad hair. But my point was that, or is that, I don't have to look a certain way. Now, when I started my career, I worked in a very conservative firm in Houston, Texas. Women were not even allowed to wear pants still. I had my little Brooks Brothers suits and, and I looked all stuffy and whatever. But I'm like, I'm not stuffy. There's nothing about me that is navy blue, gray, nor tweed. I live life in full color. And so I figuratively changed, or not just emerged, to look how I desired to look. And to redefine what an attorney looks like, what a Harvard lawyer looks like, what a successful and fulfilled woman looks like. And there is no one way, obviously. And so the whole point was to just define for myself what I wanted to look like. And I had been lifting weights and just generally, actually, I lost like 40 pounds, I guess, in 2020 because I got sick. And so I couldn't eat for a while. And so anyway, lost a lot of pounds. I was like, all right, God, this wasn't how I was going to go about this, but I appreciate you. Thank you. So I'm like, since I've lost the weight, let me keep it off. And it really was more than a desire to look a certain way as it was a desire to feel a certain way. And I've been working out with my trainer for about 2 years, and he was trying to get me to compete. And I'm like, I like food and alcohol too much, And, I'm like, I don't know. I can work out every day, but I don't know about this diet. But at the end of 2023, I'm like, this is something that I wanted to try. I'm like, I'm going to do it one time. And I did it for the purpose of showing myself that I could be disciplined, that I could sacrifice and be patient. And I was like, if I can develop discipline, sacrifice, and patience in my physical appearance and what it takes to achieve a bodybuilder's body, I can apply that across the board. And so that's why I got into it. And then, of course, I got hooked because I'm like, all right, we're going to keep this up.
So it was supposed to be a one-time thing.
Yes, this is a bucket list. And it was a bucket list largely because I'm like, I'm sick of eating chicken. I don't want to eat any more chicken. And I'm still sick of chicken, I really am. But anyway, it was supposed to be a bucket list, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the competition, and I want to see how far I can go. I don't know how many years I'll compete. I'm going to compete in 2025. My goal is to become a pro. And I don't know how much beyond that, get my pro card. I don't know how much beyond that I'll do because, like I say, your girl loves a little food and alcohol. So
I love this. I love this. It is so inspiring, though. What do you say, especially to women of a certain age, those of us who are now over 40, over 50, over 60, and we're like, can I do something that stretches me in this way? What do you say to people who are trying to break out the box and have the and life?
And I'll tell you, bodybuilding actually contributed to a better outlook, an even better outlook on aging, because I was, 51 when I did my first competition. And I was training with other women. So with bodybuilding, you go to the gym every day or 6 days a week and you work on your body. And then for the competition, you have to work on posing because you don't just go on the stage and look cute. There's an art to it. You want to pose in a way that amplifies your muscles. So anyway, I'm working with a posing coach, and she's in her 50s. I'm going to say 55. Amazing body. And then the other women come in there, and I realize I'm the youngest. There was a woman who started bodybuilding at age 69, and she was 72 and looked amazing. There was another woman, I think she was 65. And then shortly after I did my first competition, there was a woman here in Atlanta that did her first bodybuilding competition at age 72. And I had been following some other. Ernestine Shepherd I think she's in her 80s, but, I had been following her for a little while. But being in this environment really emphasized for me that, all of us are going to age, but there's nothing about aging that says, well, when you get to this age, you got to stop. You can't do anything else. You can't look a certain way. And this is not about body image as much as it is the decision to live your life to the fullest regardless. And, even before doing this, like on my bulletin board that has all of my sayings, which by the way, you're on my bulletin board. I've got some quotes from when I was listening to you speak in 2017. But, I have a picture of Ariana Huffington, and she was 54 when she started her publishing company or her media.
Was she?
Yeah, she was 54. And I think about Vera Wang. Vera Wang was in her 40s when she started designing dresses. And during the pandemic, I don't know if anyone followed Vera Wang. Oh, she was living her life. She would come on and she's in her 70s now. And I would love being inspired by her images of just her living her life and being fabulous regardless. And also I was inspired by my mom. My mom, well, I don't know if she want me to tell age, but anyway, she's older than I am. I'm 52. But anyway, we were talking about something and she said, it's too late for me. And I'm like, oh, no. It is never too late. And so it's that desire to encourage other women that it's never too, and I think Dr. Seuss or somebody, it's never too late to have the life you've always wanted or something like that. Somebody got a quote out there about that. But anyway, y'all can look it up on the internet. But anyway, it's never too late to have the life you always desire. And as women in particular, we should not let society tell us that we need to look a certain way. We need to wear makeup. You don't need to wear makeup. You need to get plastic surgery. You don't need to get plastic surgery. If you want to redo your body, girl, go and get you some surgery or whatever and do it. And if you don't, let it all hang out. If you want to be somewhere in between, you do that too. So it's all about empowering women to age on their own terms.
Ah, I love that. That is so beautiful. We were looking at the analytics of the Redefining Wealth podcast for a partner recently, and our audience is heavily mid 30s to late 50s. Heavily, majority, like 60% of the audience falls into that kind of age range. And I love that as women, we're getting that messaging that we literally get to do what we want, how we want, as long as it's authentic to you.
Yes, there's no one way.
And that's what pillar mastery is about too, right? It's about like what feels good for you, asking yourself, interrogating what no longer makes sense for me in this pillar, in the fit pillar, in people, in space, in my faith, in work, and being radically honest about that so that you can feel more empowered and confident to move forth on your terms.
Right. And, because we will allow society, because living life in the end actually originated from just me wanting to figure out how to, at the time I was married, how to be a wife, mother, and career woman, because that was always a tension. And I was inspired by, one of my law school classmates who was talking about balance. And I didn't call it living life at the end. I guess I did. That's when I first kind of articulated this concept as living life in the end. But it was always about living life on my own terms. And any woman, any man, even though, of course, I focus on women, but living life in the end just means that you're not accepting that this is the way your life must be. You're asking yourself, what kind of life do I desire? And what does it take for me to get it? And you go for it.
Yeah. So is that what you do in your new VIP days? I know in this year,
Yes.
you were able to launch a new version of your VIP day. So what does that look like now for the people you work with?
Yes. Well, one of the things that I have learned is high achieving women, we don't have a lot of time and we want to get it done. When we make our minds up to do something, we're ready to do it. And while there is a place and time for programs that allow for a longer launch, there's sometimes when it's like, look, I know what I want, or I think I know what I want, or I know I want something different. but I need to get it done now. So the new you transformation VIP experience is designed to allow a woman to be immersed in her creativity and her ideas. So many times we are competing with other interests. We got a job. We may have a family. We may have this, and that we're trying to do. And we will allow that to distract us from focusing on ourselves. But the new you transformation experience really allows you to be immersed, not only in luxury, because, we want to live it up. We want to be comfortable. We want to live the soft life. And soft life just means you are you are experiencing the fruit of your labor. Okay. You are indulging in the fruit of your labor. But it really allows them to concentrate on them. They don't have to compete with anything else. And it's all about them. It's a customized experience, even though, of course, it's a foundation that is built on psychology. It's built on studies. It's built on corporate things that have been helpful in the corporate space. So it's science and structure behind it. But it really allows a woman to take time for herself, to decide for herself what she truly wants. And literally, when she leaves, she has a blueprint for this is what I'm going to do tomorrow. So, there's not a lot of confusion around, I know what I want to do. I don't know how to do it. Or I think I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to articulate that. We articulate it, baby. And this is written out, and they are able to start their new life when they leave. And of course, this is the first part of it, but they have a great foundation that allows them to put action to the dreams that have been swirling around in their heads.
Yeah. I love the way that you talk about your VIP experience and even some of the feedback that you've gotten from clients. Because to your point, I love that you are not overwhelming people before they get there. It's really they get there and they get to be immersed in the experience, which as a high achieving woman, that's actually my vibe too, is that you can't give me a whole lot of homework. Listen, I'm not personally equipped, but if we block off those 2 or 3 days to come spend with you, then the real immersion happens once we get there and we can finally think without trying to juggle the demands of work and the husband or the children or the this or the that. I love how you set it up.
Right. And it really empowers them again to focus on themselves. And this is actually something I do for myself. I do the groundwork myself I don't do the groundwork every year, but kind of every other year I'll go through and do the groundwork, the same things that my clients get a chance to experience. But I do also use the blueprints and just the structure. This is how I apply it to my own life. And that's actually how I developed it, because I know what I needed. And then I got input from other women, and each client, of course, I allow their input to improve the experience. And so this is a chance for you to focus on you.
I love it. I love it. Listen, if you are successful and you want to be fulfilled, Dr. Stephanie is definitely a resource that I would encourage you to reach out to. Dr. Stephanie, I'm thinking about titling this episode, It's Never Too Late to Have Your Desires, because that's what I get from you. And even what you shared, you are my prototype for being fly. I'm just a few years behind. I'm just a few years behind, but you give me hope in the blueprint for how this can look as I continue to evolve. How would you say Pillar Mastery supported that evolution and that knowing that it's never too late?
I think part of it was timing, in that it literally manifested at the perfect time when I was ready to receive it. So that's one thing. It's just the timing, but more so the structure and the community. Structure is something that's really important for all of us in whatever profession you're in or whatever it is that you're doing. There's a structure and a way to go about it. And many times, they say, "With all who wander are not lost." Many times we're wandering, WANDERING, movement. We're wandering because we've not found the right structure yet. And we're progressing. We're making incremental progress. We're making incremental success. but it is not as concentrated as when you have a structure. And that's one thing I love about the pillars. That's one thing I love about the community being engaged in each of those elements, because again, it gives a structure. And so rather than haphazardly wandering around, you don't have to wonder, WONDER, about what to do, because you have a structure, and it gives you an anchoring of sorts that again goes back to amplifying your confidence and giving you clarity.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that nugget. I think what I've heard the most this week of episodes have been, number one, thank you for finally giving me something to organize my thoughts into. And the pillars help us do that and define more of what's going on in our lives by a process that we can process, but also community.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody has started with community. And I know that you have had seasons of being a lone ranger.
Yes.
And you not only doing pillar mastery, but then stepping into mastery momentum where there's even tighter community. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Yes, because the thing that I have learned to appreciate is the right community. The right community is key.
Get me together. You right. The
Yeah,
right
the right
community.
community, because all communities ain't equal. But but being in the right community, and honestly, this is something you and I, have talked about this. This is something that I've been very intentional about this year, is really cultivating the right community. Sometimes when you hear the right community, it can automatically lead you to think that, well, everything else was wrong. And there are some wrong communities, mind you, but there are communities that served you well in one season, but don't serve you well in this season. And so it's important to discern the difference and be committed to finding a community that not only serves you in this season, but nurtures you to be able to go into the next season. And that is one thing that I have appreciated the most about being a purpose chaser, is being in a community of, as you call us, like-hearted people who are focused and anchored in the same sort of values. Each of us will bring our own values to the pillars, but in terms of what anchors us and how, that we have in common, it's incredibly important to recognize. Is one of the things that I've always been kind of in the leadership space. My PhD is in organizational leadership, and I got my PhD when I was an executive for a health system and wanted to see more women at the table, literally. And I developed a leadership development program. But one of the things about leaders is you don't lead by yourself. If it's just you, you're just taking a long walk. And I think that's like a John C. Maxwell quote. That's not my quote. I always like give credit, but sometimes I don't get the people right. But anyway, but my point being is, if you're just by yourself, you can have impact and you will be impactful, but you are amplified when you are in the right community, because you get to tap into other people's talents that expands your own capacity and can expand your perspective of what your capacity is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The right community at the right time in the right season.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It means everything. It means everything. And I mean, a big lesson as you were sharing that came to me was how many times I overstayed my welcome in certain spaces because I didn't have the understanding of radical honesty, and I used to try to convince myself, logically, instead of trusting myself, my intuition that, yeah, you don't like these people, or you don't like this here. This is not your vibe. And not because they're bad, but because it's just not aligned for me in this season.
It's just not aligned for where you are. Right.
Yeah. And I always tell people too, because I've seen purpose chasers flow in and out of our space. And I'm like, right community at the right time. Whenever you ready, I'm here. As long as I feel called to do this work, I'm going to be here. And I understand that if it's certain seasons, you need to be in other spaces and go do other things, or be in multiple communities, whatever it is for you. I want you to have what you need. But One thing I am so good with right now is that when the community ain't right, no more, I am so okay with giving the deuces and moving around.
Yeah. You got to give a peace sign, and sometimes you got to give half of it. But either way, you got to go.
Listen, on that note, on the half peace sign note, I would like to thank Dr. Stephanie for being here. No, she is so fun. I mean, Dr. Stephanie, I am so looking forward to this year, this time that we get to spend together in Mastery and Momentum. Having your insight in Pillar Mastery was amazing. Of course, being in the community, but also doing some VIP days, some one-on-one conversations. Like, you are just a joy and so funny. She is a hoot, as you can hear. Listen, I'm going to link to all of Dr. Stephanie's website and her podcast and her socials in the show notes. If you are looking for that new you transformation, you want to have that VIP a luxury experience, but where you really finally get to have some time to focus on your desires, especially again, knowing it's never too late and you get to have you get to be your full professional self and have all of the personal desires of your heart. This is your person. This is your person. This is your girl. We love Dr. Stephanie here. And listen, Pillar Mastery is open. We have shifted some things in Pillar Mastery, but the organization and structure that Dr. Stephanie spoke to is still there. But I wanted to make this a resource to you all year long. I didn't want Pillar Mastery to continue to be this thing that was beholden to my filming schedule and that's too much. There are people who need this work. You may be a person who needs to get the structure that the pillars gives you a way to process your life, what you're processing, interrogate things that no longer work for you, ask better questions, and have a space where you could do the work. So right now the doors are open. We have all kind of amazing bonuses available to you. But if you happen to miss me outside of this particular period, please know Pillar Mastery is still available to you. And just based on when you sign up, there'll always be different tools and resources that will support your journey. But no matter what version of Pillar Mastery you get, I guarantee you that if you commit yourself and you allow yourself to be supported, you will see breakthroughs, you will see that confidence come back, and you will see pieces and bits, if not your full vision, come to life with more ease, more grace, more peace, and just more permission from you, because this is about what you desire. So pillarmastery.com, the doors are open. And until next time, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever feeling like you have to chase money. We'll talk to you later.